This boy's name was Gislin. The eldest son of the Pariam family was a noble named Pariam, but the condition was almost like poverty. The maids of the mansion and the people of the house were very afraid of him. And to be honest, there was a reason too. Gislin was known as a Kurd boy, whose personality was considered extremely horrible and disposable. Gradually everyone's hatred increased so much that one day he himself left the family. Before he was fired, he became a mercenary, and over the years he built such a reputation that his name spread across the continent. Over time Gislin became so powerful that he was counted among the 7 grades of the continent. But in adulthood he realized that he really was worthless as a child and that his family probably wasn't wrong. In remorse he returned to his kingdom to ask for forgiveness. But what he saw after reaching there broke everything. His entire family and kingdom were destroyed in betrayal. Many years later, a great war broke out between the kingdoms and Gislin was defeated in the final battle of the same war. Noble swordsman Eden stood in front of him and said in a calm voice that the war is over. When Gislin was asked for his last words, he simply said that he regretted that he could never complete his revenge. In the end, Eden wished for his death. Gislin laughed slightly and said that Eden was very aggressive. Then Eden suddenly brought up the topic of the boy who had left the family after his sister's death. Gislin was shocked to hear this and asked how did he know all this. Eden admitted that she had tried hard to find out Gislin's past. Then he told the truth that they belonged to the Dolphin family. Together they were involved in a conspiracy to topple the Pariam family. Hearing this, Gislin was shaken to the core. He could not believe that it was not just the Dolphin family that was behind that incident. Eden said that this conversation is useless now because Gislin is going to die soon. At that moment Gislin was angrier than ever in his life. But there Eden defeated the mercenary king. But instead of dying, Gislin felt a strange feeling in her body. He felt as if he was becoming young again. His whole life before his eyes memories started flashing. Especially the memory of his sister who died when he himself was a useless rebel. Then he suddenly woke up in a room. Looking at his hand he was sure that he had just died. His body felt like it was bursting with pain and for a moment he really thought it would be better to die. Just then the door opened and a maid came in. She became very happy to see him conscious. But as soon as Gislin saw Belinda, he froze in shock. Belinda was his personal tutor and was the only one who monitored his actions till the end. Had to bear. He disappeared after the fall of the family. It was done. So seeing him again, Gislin couldn't stop myself and suddenly got up and hugged him tightly. Belinda was shocked and asked if he had done anything wrong, because for them they met every day. Gislin knew he had to tell the truth. He said seriously that disaster was going to hit the mansion soon. Belinda was shocked to hear this. But when he said that when he came back to life after death, she thought that his mind had been shaken by the attack of the orcs and started scolding him. Then he asked how would he go to the festival if he did not get well. Gislin stopped when he heard the name of the festival because Helena had been waiting for this day to take her to the festival. Gislin remembered that the festival was held every year at this time and in his previous life he had not been able to go with it. When he asked when is the festival, so Belinda told that there is about a week left. Hearing this he thought fell in. Just then another person came into the room. Hearing that familiar voice, Gislin got confused because only one thing was echoing in his memories. A week later his sister was going to die. As soon as Gislin saw his sister Helena, he ran and hugged her tightly. Belinda was shocked to see this and Helena herself was surprised. He thought his brother was playing some strange prank. But Gislin could only say that he had missed her a lot. Helena pushes him hard and says he is scaring her feel pain while doing so. Gislin wondered if she had always been this strong. Helena sighed and said that this would not change what had happened between them. And Gislin at first couldn't understand what she wanted to say. In fact, Gislin had recently said some very hurtful things to Helena and she was still hurt by it. Gislin was surprised to hear this because in his previous life he did not remember that there was such a distance between them. As soon as he realized his mistake, he apologized. Both the girls were shocked to see this and started thinking that maybe due to the collision with the orc, his mind had been changed. But Glyn insisted that it was he who defeated the orcs. Then there was severe pain in his body and his voice stopped. Looking at him, Helena said that perhaps this was the reason why he was brought to the mansion in an unconscious state. Both girls laughed and Gislin just watched them in silence for a few moments. Then he smiled slightly because the people standing in front of him were exactly as he remembered. In his previous life he had refused to go to the festival and had used the unsuccessful journey as an excuse. That was the last time he saw his sister as she was later killed along with her bodyguards. Gislin blamed himself for the incident because he was not with her. Just then there was a knock at the door. Two guards came and started searching for Helena. He apologized and explained that the staff needed him to oversee the preparations for the festival. Ghislaine asked in surprise why Helena had to do such a thing. Belinda explained that the staff was short, so sometimes Helena also has to help. Looking at her sister, Ghislaine realized that she had not paid attention to these things in her previous life. Suddenly Ghislaine offered to help. Hearing this, Helena turned towards him in shock, and both the girls were once again convinced that she had suffered a serious head injury. When they came out, the atmosphere was quite noisy. Helena flatly refused, saying that she did not want his help because no one wanted to work with her. Ghislaine understood that past life Helena's body was found away from the festival. That means someone had dragged him there. To stop this, he will have to find all the ways and exits of the castle. Then he heard the sound of someone coming. As soon as Ghislaine saw the man, he immediately recognized him. Standing in front of him was Fergus, an old man who was half asleep. Fergus said he came immediately as soon as he heard about what happened to the detachment. Helena reports that Ghislaine is behaving strangely, therefore he should be taken back. Ghislaine understood that he will have to gather information slowly. Later he asked Fergus to take him to an abundant training ground. When Fergus asked why, so Ghislaine replied in a calm voice that he was going to train. Fergus was surprised to hear this. When they reached the right place, Ghislaine himself was shocked. The place was better than he had imagined. Perfect for training. Such a place which he had never got in his mercenary life. Fergus said that he was keeping an eye on the preparations at this place because the belief was that Ghislaine's problems would resolve themselves with time. Hearing this reminded Ghislaine that Fergus was like this in his previous life too. Thinking this, his heart became heavy. He said that he wants to live a long life and death is not for him. Hearing this, Fergus felt as if the boy had actually seen death. Ghislaine sarcastically says that he has really come back from the dead. But Fergus thought it was a joke. Ghislaine bid him farewell and was left alone, thinking that he was always hostile to people, whereas in reality he himself was blind. Now he knew that he had only 1 week before everything starts falling apart. In his previous life, he had learned that a neighboring feudal lord was behind Helena's death, and because of that, the Perthium family was trapped in a losing war. Ghislaine knew that Helena's death was the beginning of everything, so he decided that he would start changing everything from here. He decided to heal his body first, no matter how short the time. But that's not all. Ghislaine wanted to open the way for mana. Mana was a supernatural power that allowed humans to go beyond their limits. Mana was considered difficult to collect and control, but it was not impossible for Ghislaine. He had fought countless battles. Therefore, it was easy for him to feel the particles and collect them at one place. Even making a core was not a big deal for him. But that wasn't the only reason Ghislaine had become so powerful. The real reason was the method he found in a book was found. With the help of the same method, he was able to create not just one but many mana cores, and these 3 mana cores were interconnected. With this method, Ghislaine could regain his lost strength, but his present body could not bear so much pressure. In his previous life he could cook 5 courses, but right now he was barely making 3s. This method increased strength rapidly, but he demanded a lot of money in return. This was the reason why he lost against Eden in his previous life. Because when his mana ended at that very moment he was attacked. This technique was not completely reliable, but this was enough for him for now. Ghislaine was young and had time. Therefore he had decided that he would behead Adun and also deal with the Dolphin family and their people. He was going to destroy everyone. A week later the festival took place and Ghislaine arrived there with weapons. Helena was surprised to see him. He felt strange that his brother had come to such an event for the first time, but as a representative of the family, it was necessary for him to come. Helena noticed that he had changed and realized that he had been training all week. Ghislaine asked what's the problem with family heir training, so Helena reminded that earlier he himself was against it. Ghislaine was shocked when he said he wanted to become lord without ceremony. Helena smiled and said that the changes in her brother were making her happy. In fact, he feels as if the old Jilin is back. Hearing this he became silent because in this 1 week he had understood that his behavior due to changes in the present and future also started changing. Major events might not change, but smaller events could be affected by his actions, and he could not predict by how much, so he decided to use his knowledge of the future and make the most effective plan for every situation. He prepared himself for what was to come. He hung out with Helena all night while she ate street food. Most of the time he would go wherever his sister dragged him. Helena of everything was enjoying. Even though after so many years the festival had started to seem a bit boring to him. Gislin felt as if nothing bad had happened yet, while the festival was almost ending. Then he heard some voices. Some knights came and said that a new entertainment has started nearby. Helena agreed to go there. At that very moment, Gislin understood who was behind it. In fact, there were enemies hidden in his own house. Philip and Jamal, who were always trusted because they had been protecting Helena since childhood, were behind this night. Took Helena to that place, but there was nothing there. Helena was surprised how one could have fun in such a place. Jamal said to wait a bit. The rest will also come. Helena did not like this. Gislin was almost paying no attention to what they were saying, lost in his own thoughts. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary street, but barriers were put in place to block escape routes. Then his thoughts were interrupted by Helena's voice. Jamal tells her to stop, but she grabs Gislin's hand and goes. It started. Then Helena collided with someone who was standing blocking the way. Philip asked him to wait for a while, but his face looked unusual and Helena got scared. He told the knight that they looked strange and asked what was wrong with them. Jamal said he didn't want to scare her, just want to make a request. Hearing this, Helena started feeling scared. At the same time, another man came forward, along with two more people whose faces were hidden. That was Frank. As soon as he arrived, he said that the work was done as expected. Stayed neat. Jamal said that he has done the necessary work, so it would be better to complete the deal. But then Frank's eyes fell on the boy standing near Helena. He immediately recognized Gislin and said that he had not hired this guy. Jamal replied that Gislin just happened to come along. It's a bonus of sorts. Then Gislin interrupted and asked Jamal why he thought he would be their deal so easily. Knight told Gislin to worry about himself because they would just run away. He also said that they are already fed up with these poor areas and everyone is running away from here. Hearing this, Gislin found it unbearable to listen to the traitor's words and decided to attack suddenly. The very next moment he made a surprise attack. Blood gushed out from Jamal's mouth and wounds, and he could only let out a choked cough. Everyone else was stunned by this sudden attack. As the traitor's body was split in two, Gislin said coldly that at least the others had not traded the lives of others. Then he turned to Philip. Out of fear, the knight caught hold of Helena and was about to take out his weapon, but at that very moment Gislin struck the first blow and killed the enemy instantly. Before dying, all he could say was that it was impossible and his body fell on the ground. People around started murmuring that the eldest son of the Pariam family had never been trained, but their leader was absolutely sure that the boy standing in front was Gislin. Both knights were distracted for a moment, and during that time his attacks were extremely fast and accurate. Helena, with fear trembling, she started asking what was happening, but Gislin did not consider it necessary to answer. He made his sister unconscious with a sharp blow. Then he gently took care of him and laid him down on the ground. When the enemies said that he made their job easy, then Gislin finally turned towards them. One of the men said that they wanted to destroy the knights and that Gislin was nothing like the rumors. She said that perhaps he was deliberately hiding his true power. Gislin pulled out the sword and asked what they had to do with it. Have to give. He counted in his mind that now only 3 enemies were left. The 2 people standing behind were not a major threat, but their leader was giving up heavily. So Gislin decided it would be best to deal with him first. He asked who had given the order, but Thief simply said contemptuously that there is no need to know the dead. Gislin was not surprised to hear this answer, but he was determined to make her spill everything. Then the man ordered his men to capture the boy alive, but his hands and legs break it so that he becomes completely helpless and goes crazy. With a cool smile, he said that before creating a real masterpiece, it is necessary to give the lesson of pain. As soon as the order was given, the 2 thieves hurried away, but Gislin stood unusually still in front of them and moved quickly. As they came closer, he threw an object towards them. One thief immediately recognized that he was a firecracker, but within no time he was hit hard in the face. Gislin swung his sword at his face. At the same moment he cut the firecracker, stabbed in. At the same time another man came to attack from the other side, but Gislin blocked the attack and snatched his weapon. The next moment he swung his sword and severed his head. While attacking, he heard a whistling sound from above. As soon as his men were finished, the leader himself entered the fight. Gislin blocked his attack also. The man could not understand how he was able to block even the attack from the blind spot. Gislin turned and prepared to attack. In his confusion, the man could not see the blow and it hit him on the neck. There was a deep cut due to which even his pipe was cut. Still, the man's sword continued to move and Gislin, sensing danger, stopped the attack. Now the man realized that the boy's power was real, because without mana he would have been dead by now. Gislin understood that he had avoided fatal injury by concentrating the mana around the body. The The thief did not understand how the boy acquired such skills at such a young age, but he said that Ghislaine would die here. At that very moment, mana started shining all around that man. While attacking, he said that Ghislaine has low mana, therefore he cannot win. There was excitement in his eyes as if he was already seeing her death. But as soon as he said this, a smile appeared on Jillian's face. The man himself was surprised to see this. At that very moment, Jillian dodged and deflected the enemy's sword and took advantage of his confusion to deliver a powerful kick. As soon as the attack took place, the thief fell back several meters. Still, he was thinking that Ghislaine would not be able to defeat him with his mana, but as soon as he said this, blood suddenly gushed out from his throat. Due to pain, he fell on his knees and started coughing. Ghislaine's blow was not very heavy, therefore the man understood that his enchantment had been broken. Reaching out to him, Ghislaine said that she had never imagined that there was such a big conspiracy behind her sister's death, and now she is furious to know who is behind it. He was ready to kill him right there. Then Thief suddenly felt a surge of mana inside him and was shocked. But his thoughts were broken when Ghislaine suddenly pounced towards him. Believe the man, it seemed that his opponent was very fast. Still, he somehow stopped the continuous attacks and the fight continued. Then Ghislaine delivered a devastating blow. He hit both the swords with full force on the enemy's sword. The man's hands began to tremble even though he was just stopping. His sword started beating slowly. He had never seen anyone release that much mana before. It seemed as if Ghislaine had suddenly transformed into a different person. With another blow, his sword was completely broken and the blow hit him directly, due to which he got fatally injured and started bleeding. But Ghislaine didn't stop there. He attacked again and plunged his sword deep into her body. The man screamed in pain, but Ghislaine grabbed him by the throat and pushed him back and in a calm voice asked them to continue their conversation. Without blinking, he asked who had ordered this attack. Thief was not going to give up so easily. He took out the hidden dagger. His real target was not Helen but Jillian, and he decided to take her with him as he died. "We'll go." But as soon as he tried to throw the dagger, his hand stopped. The threads of mana had caught hold of him. Ghislaine offers him a deal that if he stops fooling around and answers the questions, she will give him his sword back. The thief immediately recognized that these threads were made of mana. But he did not understand when Ghislaine prepared this spell. Actually, Ghislaine had already prepared this trap. The man taunted that such a warrior could heal his wounds. But Ghislaine knew that if Manhwa is destroyed, then all will be lost. Hearing this, the thief immediately became tense. Suddenly, he felt severe pain in his body and cracks started spreading. Whereas his mana started depleting rapidly, he warned that the wrong move would destroy everything. Ghislaine said scornfully that only emitters die like that. He will find a way. The man understood that he was not bluffing. Looking into her eyes, he began to see his own death. Out of fear, he blurted out the truth. He deceives the Count by telling him that the order for Helena's death Count Digman had given so that a war can be provoked. Ghislaine was not too surprised by this revelation, because even in his previous life the dirty work had always been put on the Duke's associates. He asked if that was why they should have moved, and the man said yes. But at the same time, he plunged the sword deeper while coughing. The man asked why he broke the agreement. Ghislaine said with a cold laugh that a person who has committed so many murders becomes a coward himself when he sees death in front of him. The man said that his death would not change anything and that the matter of degrades had already been decided. Ghislaine has silenced him and told him to understand one thing, that he has come back from the dead and this time everything is going to be different. Saying this, he made her feel unbearable pain again. As the man had said, it suddenly exploded, but Ghislaine remained standing absolutely safe. Taking a deep breath, he turned his head and saw that Helena was lying on the ground, fast asleep. Throwing the sword aside, he breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same moment blood filled his throat. Ghislaine fell to his knees and began spitting blood. He cursed himself because his strength had never made such an impact before. Looking at the door in front of him, he swore that no matter what, he would not give up so easily. As soon as he broke the door and entered, he saw another dead body. Jillian headed straight towards it because he had an idea whose body it was. The dead body of Degrade's son was lying in front. Seeing all the bodies, he understood that all of them had been murdered and there was a plan to implicate them as the murderers of Helena. If the news of these deaths had gone out, war would have started. So Ghislaine decided to delete. He set fire to the building, picked up his sister and left from there. But while leaving, someone was watching them and immediately conveyed this news. Soon everyone came to know that the mission had failed. Abuses started raining on the thieves, but the spy clarified that Ghislaine himself saved Helena from death. Everyone laughed after hearing this name because in their eyes he was a useless boy. Someone said that everyone knows what Ghislain is like, therefore this excuse is useless. But the spy insisted that the boy it was not at all like the rumors, but the truth was different from that. The spy suspected that perhaps there was someone else in the boy's body. Then he changed the topic to mention Degradav and said that now it will not be difficult to start a territorial war. He asked for another chance, but everyone considered him useless and decided to eliminate him. Just then a loud sound echoed and everyone became silent. The man asked what kind of a chance the thief stood and then said that he would eliminate Gillen himself because he had a special trump card. Hearing this, everyone's interest increased. We were talking about Ken Lodges, who was famous for his fencing techniques, and since Ken was Ghislain's cousin, it would not be difficult to bring both of them face to face. Everyone was surprised to hear this but remained silent. At last the most powerful man spoke and warned that if there was failure this time too, there would be no next chance. Meanwhile, at the training center, Fergus wanted to call Glyn for dinner, but suddenly a bright light flashed in front of him. The sword placed against the wall started glowing and started moving towards the training hall, dragging in the air. Ghislain easily caught him and gave him a few blows. Then he said that the sword is not bad. Then he realized that someone had come into the room. Fergus apologizes for disrupting his training and asks how he did it. Ghislain did the same thing again and explained that with the help of mana threads he could use mana as a pulling force. He had done this before also, but right now he had to use all his strength to control the threads. If he uses only one thread, and it means that if you save, you can get the same effect. Fergus admitted that he knew a lot about training, but he had nothing. That night, after eating a simple meal, Ghislain sat in his room thinking that he had nothing left to lose. In this situation, even information about the future seemed useless. Just then someone came running. A knight entered the room and started shouting. Glyn climbed down from the window and asked, "What's wrong?" Ricardo gasped and said that there was a problem. Ken wants to meet Glyn. Gillen's eyes widened a little when he heard this name. Within some time he reached there where the guards were barely controlling the situation. Scovin was bearing all the anger. Ken's hands were stained with the man's blood, but he continued beating her without stopping. His attacks were so heavy that even Scovan's armor broke. When Ghislain arrived, Scovin was badly injured and trembled at the sight of him, maybe from pain or relief. Ghislain was shocked to see what condition Kane had done to the knight. Hearing the voice, he picked up and saw Ken, who was much bigger than him. Ken greeted her, looking down, and Ghislain responded dryly. He remembered Ken well. He was the heir of Lord Lands, a member of his supportive family, and had proven to be an extraordinary warrior at an early age. At that time he was Ghislain's only friend, but in reality they were enemies. Slowly Ken moved towards him. Ghislain asked Ricardo what was going on here. Ricardo said that he had received a report of a disturbance at the tavern, and there they found Ken, who was asking the truth about the rumors about Ghislain. The commander was about to explain everything when Ken became furious because he felt the Esquan had lied to him. Ricardo said that the matter has reached this point and now the situation is clear. Ken said it's better to tell the truth, especially how Ghislain killed the orcs. So he decided to teach the commander a lesson. But she also blamed Ghislain for what happened because the rumors were spreading because of her. Ghislain did not answer, didn't give. Ghislain remembered that Kane always treated her like his henchman. Even when Ken caused trouble, no one said anything to him. Because Ghislain himself believed him, no one dared to insult Ken. Especially Ghislain, who was struggling with inferiority complex in his previous life. Kane's adventurous nature was considered appropriate for an heir, whereas Ghislain got more taunts for the same reason. Thinking this, Ghislain laughed slightly. Ken was constantly looking at her, and he remembered that Ghislain earlier he would start shouting even on small matters. He also remembered the moment when he was ordered to kill Ghislain and in return was promised support to his family. Ken then said that Ghislain is also an heir, therefore it will not be easy to kill him directly. He was then advised to propose a duel and make everything an accident. Ken had decided to do this work without hesitation. Now Ken was thinking that maybe they had decided to remove Ghislain after seeing the change in her. He smiled and asked Ghislain where she was these days. "What are you doing?" Ken said because he has arrived. It's time for Ghislain to give him his due. The festival had stopped. So he said let's have a little fun because he was sure they were both on the same page about the matter. For a moment Ghislain could not understand what he was saying. Then he remembered that Ken used to demand alcohol and women every time he came. Earlier Ghislain always agreed because he did not want to be beaten. But he was not going to waste his money now. Then he remembered Belinda's words came, and suddenly a thought came to his mind. He understood that a source of earning was always in front of him. Ken himself. Then Ken's loud voice broke his thoughts, and he said that everything should be brought immediately because Ghislaine already knew. Ghislaine agreed but put forward a condition. He said that Ken should pay his bills first. Ken smiled and asked which bill he was talking about. Ghislaine said that he would have to pay 1,000 gold including interest. Ken taunts that he thought he was talking to a friend. But Ghislaine replied granted, he was just wiping his feet on it. The atmosphere suddenly became very tense, and Ricardo could not understand why Ghislaine was behaving like this. Ken stood up and said that if Ghislaine was thinking of being so rude, then he was wrong. He said that one does not become powerful just by spreading rumors, and people consider Ghislaine useless because he just talks. Saying this, Ken threw a punch, but Ghislaine easily dodged it. Ken threw a second punch, but it also went into the same. At that moment, Ghislaine hit him on the arm with such force that Ken was stunned for a moment. Ghislaine attacked again. But this time Ken blocked the kick, which surprised Ghislaine a bit. Then suddenly Ken fell on the ground and started screaming in pain. A man came running and asked what happened. Ghislaine said that he was complaining unnecessarily because he had clearly seen that Ken had blocked the blow. Then people nearby started gathering after hearing the noise, and Ghislaine suddenly understood what Ken was doing. Ken said, whispering softly, asked whether he had played his role properly. The man standing nearby said that he had made a good play. Then Ken took out a glove from his pocket because he wanted to challenge him to a duel. He knew that by completing this task he would get support, and it was also a good opportunity to eliminate the Party family. But as soon as he took out the glove and moved forward, at the same moment another glove flew and landed directly on his face. Ghislaine was the first to challenge Ken to a duel. Ken himself was shocked to hear this. Ghislaine said that Ken attacked her in front of everyone. He was insulted and beaten by people. Will he deny it? There was silence for some moments. Ken knew Ghislaine was an idiot at first, but he did not think that he would start digging his own grave. Taking out the sword, he warned not to repent later. But Ghislaine stood still before him and then turned to Ricardo. Ghislaine told Ricardo to call all the merchants and tell them to get their money soon. We'll go. People were already angry at the festival's sudden cancellation, but they had money left to spend and the atmosphere could still be lighter. Ghislaine thought a big spectacle would distract people. Similarly, preparations for the duel were made and the match was about to begin in front of many spectators. People naturally started setting up beds. Ken is angry that Ghislaine has turned the duel into a spectacle. He warned that his sword would not stop even if Ghislaine begged for mercy. Ghislaine remained silent because he knew that this is Ken's real intention. As they were about to start, suddenly someone said that the bet was not fair because no one bet on Ghislaine. People started shouting that at least someone should plant it. Ken laughed and said that Ghislaine was worth nothing, so people started placing bets on how long he would last. Then suddenly another bet was placed. The wounded Scoven stakes Ghislaine. Then another bag was placed on the table. This time Helena and Belinda also came. Ghislaine was shocked to see his sister and the audience was also surprised. Belinda tries to stop him was getting it done, but Helena did not agree. Ken became irritated while waiting. At last the duel began. Ghislaine said he was big. Therefore, it would not be right to attack first, and he held the sword and asked Ken to attack. Ken also shrugs and says that it is too late to pretend to be big now. The next moment he pounced on Ghislaine, but Ghislaine blocked the blow. Ken taunts that he has fallen down to save his life. His blow knocked Ghislaine off balance and Ken continued to attack, but Ghislaine kept dodging them. When Ghislaine bent over and kicked Ken, but it went into the air. The audience felt that Ghislaine would not be able to withstand even a single blow. Belinda got scared and wanted duel to stop, while some people were happy that Ghislaine was going to lose. Ken had immense power and his habit was to wait for his opponent to get tired and then deliver the final blow. But during the fight, Ken realizes that Ghislaine's skills have really increased. He swung the sword and attacked, holding the blade. Ghislaine stopped him, but Ken suddenly drew his sword and pulled Ghislaine towards him. Then with all his strength Ken threw Ghislaine into the air. Seeing this, the crowd held their breath and Ricardo became worried. While some people became happy, Ghislaine was completely calm even while falling in the air. The moment he landed on the ground, he moved forward like lightning and attacked. Ken had neither time to stop nor understand his move. People were stunned to see that even after falling, Ghislaine immediately regained his balance and moved forward with mana in his feet so fast that no one could see him, was not able to follow. After the attack, Ghislain sighs and says that Kane is weak with weapons and just scares people with brute force. That's why he wanted to open his eyes. On hearing this, Ken went mad with anger. He did not understand how such a small boy was challenging him and he attacked again. Ghislain turned around and kicked him hard on the body and jumped into the air with the help of the same hand. While spinning in the air, he tried to attack and Kane in anger wanted to stab him with the sword but Ghislain immediately moved away. The next moment, Ghislain stepped on the sword which stopped Kane's movement and gave a sharp blow to his neck with his weapon. He stood still for a moment and then blood started flowing from Kane's wounds. The crowd was shocked to see how the tide of battle was changing. Helena proudly asked Belinda if she saw it or not. Scoven laughed slightly but Thief was extremely angry. Ken understood that the wounds were not deep, whereas Ghislain could have injured him more badly if he wanted. For a moment between the two there was silence. Ghislain kept looking at Ken silently. Then suddenly he threw away his sword and said that the difference in strength was not that much, so he would fight with bare hands. Hearing this, Ken became more angry. Ghislain said that he wants to teach him a lesson and for this his punches are enough. He even said that he bet 2,000 gold coins that he would win. Hearing this, whispering spread in the crowd and people started arranging the beds again. Some people started betting on Kane, but now some people also started supporting Ghislain. Ken thought it all was a joke. He took off his cloak in a dramatic manner but kept the sword in his hand and attacked. Belinda started shouting and encouraging Ghislain. At that very moment Ken's punch landed, but Ghislain laughed and easily dodged the sword. Kane tried to kick, but Ghislain quickly changed her stance and punched his leg. Then he hit him hard on the chin. Ken stepped back in pain and fell on the ground. He couldn't understand how Ghislain had learned to fight so well. The crowd now started shouting loudly and many people began to believe in Ghislain's victory. Ghislain told Ken to get up because the fight was not over yet. Ken's patience started to break and he again attacked with the sword. But Ghislain continued to dodge his attacks. She herself could not understand how the boy who was earlier afraid to look into her eyes now became stronger than her. Ghislain twisted his arm and kneed him in the ribs. Kane was already badly injured, but he was still thinking that for the future of his family he should go to Ghislain. Will have to be killed. But he was unable to do anything and was just bearing the blows. Within some time he started trembling in pain. Then Ghislain walked over to her and held her hair. Suddenly she said she was feeling sorry for Ken's father. Ghislain remembered that because of their friendship, Ken's father helped the Pariam family when they were in great trouble. But he said he is not ideal in Kane. Ken was stunned to hear this. At that very moment he remembered that a few years ago everyone had honored his father. Were stopping me from helping the family, but his father still stood by him. Ken remembered that not even a week had passed when his father wanted to help the Pariam family again. Then Ken could not understand and angrily refused to go. He had asked why they were so adamant on helping when everyone was stopping them. Her father quietly turned to her and said that he considered Ghislain's father his friend. Ken was stunned for a few moments as he remembered this. At the same time, Ghislain again was about to attack but he stopped his hand. Ken closed his eyes, waiting for the blow but not getting hit. He slowly opened his eyes and saw the hand extended in front of him. He kept looking at her for a few moments. Then he bowed his head and accepted defeat. Everyone was surprised to see this and the crowd started shouting happily. The people of Pariam family were also very happy. Then a man angrily runs towards Ken and shouts that he had trusted him and now he is giving up. But Ken told him to shut up and told him to go. Used to be. The man called him a coward. Then Ghislain came and stood behind him and smilingly said that now is the time to settle his score. The man could not understand what he was saying. Then Ghislain announced in a loud voice that this man would pay for everyone's food and drinks. Hearing this he became even more enraged and said that he did not say anything like that. Ghislain put her hand on his shoulder and said that this was the price of the necklace and in addition he would also have to pay 2,000 gold coins. Looking into his eyes the man got scared and agreed. Ghislain left from there. Next one day he had money and he thought that with this he could keep a small mercenary group, but this amount was not enough. Just then Belinda and Helena came into the room. Helen sarcastically asked where he was going to spend the money. Belinda laughingly said that everyone knows he wants to buy an expensive gift for Lady Amelia's birthday. Hearing this, Ghislain remained silent because he did not even remember that he had a fiancée. When he asked directly, Belinda thought he was joking, but Helena told that she was talking about Amelia, Count Riffald's daughter. Gazalin was further shocked after hearing this. But the next moment he remembers that Amelia will become the leader of the rebellion in the north in the future and will be called the Witch of the North and will be involved in the downfall of his family. Thinking this, his anger emerged. He asked when his father would return and received the answer that in about a week. Glynn thought that was enough time and decided to meet the Rifled family. Belinda asked why, so he just said that he has to collect some days. Amelia's side life was going on normally. He had found new shoes and gave them to a poor village girl. When the girl became emotional, Amelia said that if anyone can walk barefoot on her land, then it is those people. He ordered the guards to provide food and shelter to the people. When the guards started completing the orders, voices of thanks started coming from outside. Upon returning home, his feet were looked after and Bernard praised him greatly. Amelia said her father always demanded complete obedience, but she knows that people follow the one who gives them shelter and bread. The bard said that Amelia has won the hearts of so many people that even the inheritance dispute could go in her favor. The girl kept looking at him silently. Then suddenly he kicked him hard in the face. He asked what happened to the duel with the Northern Sword Master. Bernard apologized and said that if he had won, he could have won the man over to his side. Then he kissed his foot and said that his sword would always serve him. But Amelia held his face and told him not to be weak. Bernard informs that the Merchant Guild has purchased all the materials to build the checkpoint and has also purchased the soldiers and knights who have left the Pariam lands. Amelia praised him and asked him to keep the Merchant Guild in good stead. Just then a servant came and told that a message had come at the gate. Ghislaine has come to visit. Amelia asked with distaste what the limping boy was doing here. When told that he wanted to talk about the Merchant Guild, so everyone was surprised. After a while, Amelia saw Ghislaine in the living room. Ghislaine greeted, but he did not respond and his cat began to hiss. Amelia said it was rude to come unannounced. Ghislaine shows a flower and says that she bought it from her guild's shop and now she has decided to always buy from there. Amelia remained silent. Then she got up and said that she did not understand its meaning and said that the gift was accepted. Now he can go. Ghislaine smiled and told him to sit. Amelia froze at his tone. He wondered what he is the same boy who early used to get scared on seeing her. Then Ghislaine said that he wanted 10,000 gold. Amelia got angry after hearing this amount and asked, is this the wool of her family? Ghislaine said that it was just her matter and that Amelia would not marry him anyway. She was shocked to hear this. Ghislaine said that he would marry the knight standing behind the door. As soon as she said this, Amelia's cat hissed loudly and stood in front of her. Amelia said that such things are not said even jokingly. Ghislaine said that if he gets the loan he will keep everything a secret. She was by Linda. Amelia asked who was he, but Bylinda said in a cold voice to keep quiet. At that very moment, Bylinda suddenly stood behind Amelia and placed the knife on her neck. Amelia was stunned. Belinda removed the spider from her clothes and was surprised that Amelia was still wearing it. Amelia smiled and said that maybe it was because of the engagement. Belinda knew that Amelia's family didn't like her because bugs always were hovering around. That's why he started using his own made spider to answer to everyone. Belinda throws away the spider and says it doesn't look good on her, then crushed her and asked Amelia to cooperate. On the other hand, so much mana started coming out from Bernard's body that the whole room started feeling heavy. Ghislaine felt as if even the air had become heavy. Birard then asked how Ghislaine could consider himself an aristocrat like Amelia. Ghislaine said in a calm voice that he was also an aristocrat and that he was a bodyguard. Looks strange coming from the mouth. After a few moments of tension, both of them clashed again. Bernard said do not insult the name of aristocracy and attacked as fast as lightning, but Ghislaine kept stopping them. Still, every attack was fatal. Amidst the fight, Glynn understood that Bernard was angry and was applying constant pressure. At last he held the sword tightly and pushed Bernard's sword away and then attacked with great force. But Bernard counterattacked and dropped his sword. Bernard said that this would be his last blow and the sword went straight to Ghislaine. It was on the neck, but at that very moment he was shocked. Ghislaine deliberately deflected the blow with his shoulder and counterattacked at that very moment. Bernard became irritated because he was not getting a chance to rest. She then blocked the blow and kicked Ghislaine hard in the ribs. Ghislaine was thrown into a wall but still stood and was ready to fight. Ghislaine understood that Bernard's speed and attack patterns were dictating the course of the battle and that he could not defeat him with the mana he currently had. But Bernard didn't know one thing: considered near Ghislaine there was a special technique of cultivation. As soon as he used it, his speed suddenly increased and in the next moment he was very close to Bernard. The swords clashed again, and moments later Ghislaine disarmed Birard. Birard was stunned because he did not understand where Ghislaine had suddenly acquired so much mana. Ghislaine's sword was touching his neck, but he did not strike. Just then Belinda and Amelia came into the room. Amelia said he could take the money and left. Ghislaine asked, if you had asked politely earlier, then why were you not given? Then he removed the sword. Belinda taunted that this couldn't even be called a lover's quarrel. Ghislaine said their opinions just don't match. Then he told Amelia that now he will not take less than 20,000 gold. As soon as he left, there was an uproar in the palace. In anger, Amelia started breaking things. Bernard apologized, but she ignored him and just kept saying that Ghislaine had changed a lot. Bernard asked if he should tell this to Duchess Deline, but Amelia told him not to, slapped and told to think before taking his name because Deline is very dangerous. She then confesses that she is secretly working with Deline, because only Deline can free him from the Pariam family. Amelia was even more angry because if the secret of the Merchant Guild was revealed, then everything would be ruined. So he decided that Ghislaine had to be killed. Birard accepted his request. He told that Ghislaine had a deep wound on his shoulder and that he had used a lot of mana. Therefore it will take time for him to recover, but Barnard said that knights should not be used. Amelia agreed and said that she wanted dogs that were specifically bred for this purpose. Bernard understood that she was talking about War Orpheus, such children who have no family or status. Amelia ordered that a dozen people expert in mana control be gathered. Bernard immediately begins planning an ambush, and Amelia eagerly waits to see how Ghislaine will pay for her insult. On the other hand, Ghislaine was dressing his wounds on the way. Hero was walking and thinking about Amelia's betrayal. People were worried seeing his condition, but he assured everyone that he was fine. He thought that despite taking so much risk, the wound was not too deep and he got a lot of money in return. He could even kill Amelia, but did not want to start a war. There was already a fight going on against the barbarians, so he decided that this time he would at least solve the matter by shedding blood, but would instead use Amelia for his work. Belinda quietly was looking at him. Then he asked if everything went according to plan. She reminded him that Ghislaine had told him to take charge of security and take Amelia as hostage if she heard the sounds of the fight. Ghislaine said yes, but then he felt a sharp pain and bowed down. He now understands the cost of using a third mana core and how it can become a serious problem over time. Belinda took his hand and checked his pulse and said that his menorrhagia had deteriorated badly. Then strange, with his hands light started coming out. Ghislaine understood that she was being treated with mana compression. Suddenly he again felt pain and vomiting, but this time it was not blood but strange air that came out. He realized that the blockage in the channels was over. Then he realized that Belinda was not an ordinary maid, even though he still didn't know who he really was. Belinda said that she trusts Ghislaine and will always help her. Then he asked why he needed so much money. After a short silence, Ghislaine said that only Amelia could get him the money. Both Belinda and Fergus were surprised to hear this. Belinda warned that there would be trouble if anyone found out, but Ghislaine said that Amelia would not tell anything. When Ghislaine told him he was talking about Monster Forest, Belinda froze in fear. Ghislaine said in a serious tone that they needed resources to clean that forest. Fergus said it was impossible because attempts had been made for years but no one had succeeded. Then Ghislaine asked that what happened to the request you made before leaving. Fergus was a little confused. Then he said that the person he was talking about is right here. Ghislaine said he would go there immediately, but Belinda insisted on returning home and said that Amelia would not leave it all just like that. Ghislaine replied that circumstances had changed and he now wanted to find the commander responsible. For this reason they reached the deserted area. The place was deserted. There was no answer when I knocked on the door, but they were sure they were in the right place. Then suddenly the door opened and a man appeared. A man covered with a thick beard opened the door and said, "Who is there?" Everyone except Ghislaine was shocked to see him. Belinda said that that man looks like a ruined person, no responsible commander. But Ghislaine said in a calm voice that the same man was standing in front of them. The man started closing the door and said not to waste their time. Then Ghislaine called her Jillian. On hearing this, the mercenary captain stopped and slowly turned. Ghislaine extended her hand and said that she was reminded of Jillian. Everyone was surprised to hear this because Ratatosk mercenary group was a legend which was remembered even after being disbanded, and its leader was Jillian. Ghislaine had come to invite him to join them, but at that very moment an axe came cutting through the air and went through, tearing Ghislaine's clothes. Everyone was shocked by this sudden attack. Gillian asked in a harsh tone how did he know about him and why had he come here. Belinda to Ghislaine asked to step back because he felt that the man's mental balance was not good, but Ghislaine said in a calm voice that he could help Gillian's daughter. Therefore he should listen to it first. Inside, a girl was suffering from pain. She had high fever and was coughing up blood. This disease was called endless punishment because the victims died suffering unbearable pain. The girl was screaming and Gillian was standing with her in his arms. Ghislaine understood that it was not too late. Gillian, in her previous life, he could not be hired because he had committed suicide after his daughter's death. Looking at the condition of the room, it was clear that he had spent all his money on treatment. The girl was screaming in pain that she wanted to die. Ghislaine decided to start treatment immediately, but Belinda stops him and asks how can they help when even the priests have failed. Ghislaine freed herself and said that he was the only one who could help and asked Belinda again if she trusted her girl Tangled Went. Then Ghislaine gave him a slip and asked him to bring the things written in it. Belinda was shocked to see that list. This disease was considered incurable, but its cure was going to be discovered in the future and Ghislaine remembered the recipe for the antidote. The materials were expensive but now they had money. Ghislaine prepared the medicine and gave it to Gillian. Without hesitation, Gillian gave the medicine to her daughter. At first nothing happened, but gradually the spots on his body started disappearing and his face became calm. Everyone was surprised to see this. Gillian couldn't believe the medicine was really working. Ghislaine said the treatment is working. Gillian asked how this was possible when even powerful healers were helpless. HISO replied that the power of sense is not limitless and the patient's willpower also matters. Gillian's hands began to tremble and she asked if her daughter would make a full recovery. Ghislaine said that she will completely recover in 2 months. Hearing this, hope sparkled in his eyes and he fell on his knees. She begged Ghislaine to tell what did he want in return because he knew that he did not come here without a reason. He said he had nothing to give. That's why if he wants, he can make him a slave. Ghislaine said he just wanted a true leader who could handle the mercenaries. Hearing this, Gillian looked into his eyes and tried to understand what he really wanted. Then he silently caught hold of it and chopped it with an axe. Everyone was stunned. It seemed as if a completely different person was standing in front of him, a broken one, not the man but the re-weakened mercenary captain. Gillian turned and went to the other corner of the room and asked if anyone else had come with Ghislaine, perhaps the enemy. Ghislaine said that all those who were with him were inside. Then Gillian asked if anyone was jealous of her. Ghislaine replied that more such people are going to come. Just then Gillian picked up a spear and threw it towards the wall. The spear pierced the wall and sank into the tree. Then he pulled the rope and dragged a detective inside. The man gasped as he held her throat. Poked. Gillian asked who sent it, but he remained silent. Gillian asked Ghislaine what to do with her, so Ghislaine said that he already understood who sent it and he did not want to get his hands dirty today. Then Gillian said that he would handle it himself and he strangled the man to death. After everything was over, he bowed and paid obeisance to Ghislaine. Belinda saw that there was no hesitation in his expression and she did not understand why Ghislaine would want such a dangerous man. Gillian swore that now his life belongs to Ghislaine. Ghislaine said he would trust the commander. Soon Ghislaine's enemies discovered that their reconnaissance squad had been decimated. A captain calmed everyone down and said that Ghislaine might not have caught the spices himself. Then the news came that he had taken Gillian with him. Hearing this, the captain became angry and caught hold of a soldier and asked, "Is this true?" The frightened soldier said that he had seen it with his own eyes. On the other side, Gillian people were passing through the forest. Belinda has complained that the car was too tight and said that Gillian didn't need weapons. A sword or an axe is sufficient for him. Ghislaine said that the car was also needed to take Rachel and asked for some patience. Then Belinda asked, "Was that spy sent by Amelia?" Ghislaine said yes and Belinda explained that he was wearing a Wildcat Guild mask. A dangerous dark guild consisting of smugglers, assassins and drug dealers. Belinda warned that there were many retired mercenaries in that guild. Therefore one has to be careful. Ghislaine said she no longer worries because she has Gillian with her. Then suddenly someone's voice was heard. Gillian immediately sensed the presence of the enemy. The hidden attackers aimed directly at him, but he stopped both the attacks by taking out his weapon from his back and counterattacked, cutting a man into 2 parts. People hiding in the trees cut the ropes and a tree started falling towards the car. Belinda shouted that they would be stuck, but Gillian pulled the reins and turned the car and the tree fell a short distance away. Ghislaine had expected this ambush, but the next moment he saw that dozens of people had surrounded the car. One of them called Jillian names and called her a coward, alleging that he abandoned his old comrades because of his daughter. Jillian got out of the car and said that he did not understand these things. The man kept saying that his life was ruined because of Jillian and now he doesn't even recognize his old friend. Jillian remained silent. The commander realized that he was being deliberately unaware and attacked. Ordered to do. Ghislaine moved to help but Jillian refused. Then a huge force started coming out from Jillian's body and she killed many enemies in a single blow. The rest still continued to advance and tried to stop the weapons. But Jillian dismembered one with an axe, cut off the hand of the second and attacked the neck of the third. Jillian easily blocked the attack from the next assassin and cut off his hand with one swing of the axe. Seeing this, the captain understood that Jillian's strength had not diminished at all. He immediately orders were given to surround the people from two sides and attack. In response, Jillian got on the horse. Everyone was surprised, but he picked up the weapon kept on the horse. He held the axe with both hands and moved forward with full force. Many people were killed in one blow. One thief shouted to scare the horse but they didn't get a chance as Jillian kept biting them. Seeing this, Spylinda also got a little scared. Then an assassin jumped from above to attack but Jillian immediately raised her shield and stopped the attack. The captain shouted that he would eliminate Jillian and stabbed the horse. The horse fell down after receiving serious injury. Jillian landed on the ground and immediately blocked the attack with the axe. Then he threw the man away with the shield. The assassin was shocked to step back and asked if Jillian is no longer the leader of Ratos, then who is? Jillian said that he has left the past behind and is now just Jillian's assistant. Hearing this, the man became more enraged and attacked again. The fight started. Jillian continued to block the blows with the shield. While Hassan was shouting that his squad disintegrated after Jillian left and he dedicated his life to that unit, the fighting continued. Hassan was also very strong and saved Jillian several times. He breaks the shield with a strong kick and says that Jillian has chosen to give up everything and become someone's lab dog. That's why he will never forgive him. Jillian did not respond and then raised her weapon and attacked. The assassin suddenly appeared in front of him, but Zelian retreated and saved war. Both kept avoiding each other's attacks. Assassin said that Jillian was stronger before, but while he's worried about his daughter, he continues to overpower himself and now Jillian can no longer compete with him. He kicked the sword stuck in the ground and threw them towards Jillian. But Jillian stopped him with her hand. At that very moment, Hassan again came closer and tried to attack, but Jillian caught the knife with her bare hand. Then Jillian asked if this was the only reason for revenge. At that very moment, Assassin understood that Jillian was still not fighting with full strength. As he was thinking this, a heavy blow fell on his face and he went flying and crashed into a tree. Jillian asked in a calm voice that if he wanted revenge, why didn't he come earlier? The man laughed and said that he had come earlier also, but he did not find any leader. He found only one old man with whom he did not even want to fight. He asked where Jillian, whom he idolized, had gone. Hearing this, Jillian threw the sword on the ground and said that it now serves someone else, but out of respect for his old comrade, he will fight with all his might. As commander used to fight Retatos, the mercenary held the sword tightly and said that now the real fight would begin. She attacked but Jillian easily blocked it. The man shouted that this was the fight he had been waiting for, so they attacked each other with lightning speed. Jillian lunged forward but her blows were avoided. Then the mercenaries attacked but that too was unsuccessful. This continued for some time. Then there came a moment when the mercenaries' move broke and Jillian attacked. The man writhed in pain but kept fighting. Just then Jillian picked up the axe and said she remembered Captain Ratas of the 5th Squadron and called Vigo by name. Hearing this, the mercenary smiled. The next moment Jillian finished him off. For some time Jillian stood over the body of his fallen old comrade. Just then Belinda and Glyn came to him. Belinda started talking that good money could be earned by selling these weapons. Jillian apologized for prolonging the fight but Jillian said she didn't care but that she was hopeful, have done much good. She remembered that in her previous life, Jillian's stories started with her rise. When he became the king of mercenaries, Ghislaine asked if he remembered the man, and Jillian said he was her old comrade. Ghislaine was left thinking after hearing the word comrade. He remembered that his own friends also once had their own lives, but one day he will gather everyone again. After 2 days Wep reached the land of Paran. Jillian asked if this was the place and Ghislaine said yes. Jillian said it was nice to have a place to return to because she didn't have anything like it before. Jillian kept looking around and said the land wasn't bad. But Ghislaine said the situation is very bad. He had heard that these areas suffer constant wars from barbarians. But the truth was worse than that. Ghislaine said he wanted to eliminate these problems and asked Jillian for help. The fight was going to be a long one, but he was determined to recapture these lands. Suddenly Belinda saw something in the distance and screamed. Ghislaine looked towards the horizon and was amazed. His father was standing in front. There was a council going on inside and people were discussing the use of available forces. Some people were calling Raffles useless and accusing him of attacking soldiers. Ghislaine listened to all this in silence and smiled because it seemed to him that nothing had changed. He thanked everyone for their hard work and turned to his father. His father looked at him with stern eyes. As a child, Jillian was afraid of this sight, but now he understood that this was a burden of responsibility. His father asked, where was he for a week? Ghislaine said he went to the rifled lands. The father asked, did he cause any trouble? So he said, no. Then someone told that he had earned money by winning a duel with Ken. Someone asked whether he had already spent the money, and Ghislaine said that he had gone to settle a matter with Amelia. A man reminds him that he is heir and has responsibilities. Then the Count cut off the conversation and said there were more problems. She asked if it was true that Ghislaine killed Jamal and Philippe, who were trying to sell out Helena. Ghislaine remembered that night and said that it almost happened. Some people were not happy with his death, but Ghislaine knew they were traitors. Then her father said that the most important thing is that Helena is safe. Ghislaine was shocked to hear this because it was the first time his father had praised him. He thought of asking for a favor, but some people said that if it is about money then it is forbidden, and started counting his old sins. Ghislaine said he was just asking for permission, but he will still complete the plan and will not even tell Belinda about it yet. Ghislaine knew that a place within the Monster Forest was filled with runic stones. It was a mineral which was filled with magical power and which was used in almost every work related to magic. Historically, these mines were owned by the Deline family. But Ghislaine wanted to change all that. Belinda did not like that she was kept away from things. Then he also decided to support Ghislaine. When Ghislaine talks about hiring an army, Jillian warns that it would attract a lot of attention. But Ghislaine knew the right people and he was going to choose them himself. Jillian understood who he was talking about. Those mercenaries were very powerful, but if he was not happy he could kill anyone. Nevertheless, Ghislaine decided to hire the Sabara's mercenary squad. The very next day they set out towards the camp, which was on the border of the area. As Jillian and Ghislaine approached, the mercenaries saw them and started laughing because they both looked like lost aristocrats. Then a man watching through a telescope suddenly heard a scream. The next moment Jillian pounced on one of the mercenaries and grabbed his head and started pressing it hard. Then he threw it away in one fell swoop. Seeing this, the rest of the mercenaries became alert and took out their weapons and surrounded him. Then someone said that no aristocrat has such courage. The man was threatening to kill them when suddenly Ghislaine stepped forward and asked who is the boss. The mercenaries were surprised to see this. A man smiled and said that he was dealing with a mad aristocrat. Then he threw the heavy weapon with full force towards Ghislaine. The weapon came rapidly towards Ghislaine, but he did not move at all. Suddenly the weapon changed course as Jillian blocked its chain with the sword. Ghislaine said that Jillian can do whatever she wants but not kill anyone. Following orders, Jillian pulled the chain. The man was dragged, thrown into the air and attacked with mana. The rest also jumped, but Jillian picked up one and hit the others and everyone fell down. The remaining people became paralyzed with fear. Ghislaine got off the horse and asked how much longer would it take for the boss to arrive. Just then a man came up and said he was still sleeping. He called his name Kova and asked what Ghislaine wanted. Ghislaine said he wanted to hire them, but Kova was angry because his men had just been beaten. Ghislaine said it was just a greeting and Kova's way of ensuring obedience. Sarcastically asked whether next time he would do a complete massacre. Still, he agreed to listen to the proposal. Ghislaine told that it was about Monster Forest and it needed mercenaries. Kova asked who was the person who came to their area like this. Ghislaine introduced himself and the mercenaries fell silent for a moment as soon as they heard his name. Then everyone laughed and said that his exploits no longer surprise anyone. Kao finally made it clear that there is no place for people like Ghislaine here and he doesn't want to hear another word about it. At that very moment he accepted that the conversation was over. Ghislaine remained silent for a few moments. Then someone suddenly asked the cow if he was really scared. Ghislaine laughed slightly. He realized that the rumors about his squad were probably greatly exaggerated. Kovar immediately changed his tone and said that since they are mercenaries, they negotiate on the price. Ghislaine just smiled contemptuously and said that weak people always look for excuses. The cow replied that he just kidding, but Ghislaine's words ruined everything. That's why he demanded that Ghislaine compensate for the damage and leave. But Ghislaine was not going to agree. Ghislaine then calls Kavar and tells him that she has Morana's confession. Cow asked if he even knew. What does it mean? Without hesitation, Ghislaine said that she knew exactly. This was the name of a traditional duel in the mercenary world in which fighting took place without mana. The dominant's hands were tied and the fight took place inside a circle from where going out was prohibited. Many times both of them would die. Ghislaine knew that the loser had to obey the winner. He challenged Cow to a duel. Jillian is surprised to hear that Ghislaine really wants to follow mercenary customs. Refusing to duel would have been humiliating, so Cow could not back down. The atmosphere in the room became heavy while waiting for the answer. After all, Cow said that if the master wanted mercenary-style recognition, then they would have to accept his decision. Preparations for battle should be completed in a short time went. Both of their hands were tied and they landed inside the circle. Jillian watched silently while the mercenaries roared in support of their leader. Cow tells Ghislaine that even if he has learned some tricks, he still cannot win and there is no way back. Suddenly Ghislaine was startled when he was pulled forward. Cow pulled him close and told him that he had won 5 times this way. Ghislaine pushed back and said that 5 times was not enough. Then himself pulled the cow towards himself. Cow he replied that he had won hundreds of times like this. As soon as the starting signal was received, the attitude of both of them immediately changed. In a moment they swung the blades towards each other's neck and there was confusion in Cow's eyes as he saw Ghislaine simultaneously dodging the blow. He didn't expect an aristocrat to react like this. The attacks of both were almost similar. Whenever someone made a direct attack, the other one would stop it. Cow yanked Ghislaine's arm to throw him off balance, but despite the provocation, Ghislaine remained firm when the cow tried to attack from behind. Ghislaine was saved in time. After that, Ghislaine attacked again, but the cow also quickly moved away. Then the cow decided to kick. Ghislaine blocked the blow with her foot, but at that very moment she felt a sharp pain in her leg. The cow understood that the boy was fighting well. But it was strange that he was claiming hundreds of victories, whereas achieving even one victory is very difficult. He taunted that if someone wanted to boast then at least say something credible, saying, "The crowd roared, screaming for the village and demanding the aristocrat be killed." But as soon as Jillian cast a dangerous glance at the Merciers, they immediately fell silent. The atmosphere became calm again and the man continued watching the fight. Thinking the odds were going against Ghislaine, the circle was so small that it was difficult even for one person. There was no use of mana and everything depended on body weight and physical skill. The tied hands were further limiting his mobility and Ghislaine with difficulty was able to stop the attacks of the cow. This meant that Cow could easily take the lead. Still, if the situation became too dangerous, Jillian was ready to jump in. Cow grabbed Jillian's arm and stabbed him in the side, but as soon as he was hit, Jillian jumped over him and landed on his feet without faltering. At that very moment, the pain in his leg flared up again. Now he was convinced that pain keeps accumulating in the part from which the attack is stopped without mana. The cow understood by looking at Ghislaine's face, took that the circumstances are not good for him. He found Ghislaine's stubbornness and resistance almost useless, but he had agreed. This was the most stubborn noble he had ever encountered. Cow was sure what Ghislaine was thinking at this moment. This fight was a manless confession. So as long as Ghislaine continues to block attacks, injuries will simply accumulate on his body. The cramps in Gison's leg were clearly visible, but the cow wanted the boy to keep fighting because only then is it fun. He started holding the blade in a different way, rotating it between his fingers. The next moment he threw a punch which was blocked by Ghislaine. The cow hit him on the head, but Jillian survived by ducking. The cow changed the direction of the hand and followed his head. But Ghislaine stopped his hand. Taking the initiative, Cow again stopped his hand and tried to kick him. Ghislaine did it again, stopped the attack with his foot. But at that very moment, a sharp pain ran in his leg. Then the cow said that now the time has come to end this fight. He pointed the blade towards Jillian's neck just like Jillian had thought about it in advance. He grabbed his axe, will intervene as soon as necessary. But at that very moment, a strange smile appeared on Jillian's face. Suddenly, avoiding Kaon's attack, he changed his stance and counterattacked. At that very moment, the first blood of the duel was shed. Seeing the wound, Kaon froze for a moment and the others were also stunned. The cow attacked again, but Ghislaine again escaped. Second attack, then defense, and then Ghislaine counterattacked and hit Kaon on the chest. In the crowd, as soon as the cat is made for the second time, there was a commotion. Till now everyone felt that Cow was completely dominant, but the atmosphere had started changing. Cow attacked again and missed again. At that very moment Jilin hit him hard with the shoulder and landed several punches on his face and neck. Then he raised his hand and suddenly brought it down and stabbed the knife in the cow's hand. The crow, mad with anger, started attacking wildly. He could not understand what suddenly changed. Just moments ago Ghislain was barely able to stand, but Jillian, who was watching continuously, understood everything. Cow's brilliance, the movements had strained his muscles and he was slowly losing his mobility as he tried to stretch. Jilin, on the other hand, was fighting quietly. Jillian never thought that her weight gain could be lost like this. Then Cow heard his men saying that they were getting bored. Something has to be done. Jalen said that the cow's stamina is really commendable. Many people would have given up by now or given up. Cow retorted and said that whoever broke the rules of this ritual would be sent to the mercenary world. I have no right to live. Jaislalan smiled and admitted he was impressed. Then Cow suddenly admitted that he was behind in terms of skill, but the conditions for victory are not limited to skill alone. He suddenly turned and pulled Ghislain towards him. The rule was clear that whoever crosses the boundary of the circle will be considered defeated. Cow was convinced that no matter how skilled Ghislain was, if he fell out he would lose. But at that very moment Jilin turned sharply and changed the direction of Cow's open hand. For a moment it seemed that he himself will touch the ground. But before that he kicked Kaon hard with both his feet. Despite his hands being tied, he used the same momentum to turn himself inside the circle again. Now the cow had lost its balance. Ghislain seized the opportunity and threw the mercenary leader hard on the ground. Then everyone saw that the cow's leg had gone outside the circle. The cow was furious, but Ghislain clearly declared that victory was hers. Cow asked who he was and where he had learned such skills. Ghislain immediately he replied that the cow had no respect for his master. Then he pulled the cow and made it stand. The cow was surprised. He said the fight was over, but Ghislain said coldly that not yet, because he himself had not gone out of the circle and now was the time to train his new subordinate. The next moment Kaon got a strong punch on his face and he again fell on the ground. Even Tanash was stunned by this sudden counterattack. Kaon tried to stop the boy, tried to remind the rules, but he could not even finish his sentence when Jalen attacked again. Ghislain asked sarcastically, "Will you now also explain the rules of the battlefield?" Cow had tried to protest, but Ghislain interrupted him, saying in a cold voice that the master's words cannot be doubted. Cow wanted to call him mad, but he could not even complete his statement. The beating had started again. The beating continued for some time. The rest of the people were not able to decide whether to intervene or not, so just stood and watched. Finally Cow yelled, begging Jilin to stop as if his voice had been heard. Ghislain pulled him closer and lifted him into the air, but he simply said that Cow has not gone out of the circle yet. Cow had stared straight into his eyes. Then he turned towards his people and gave orders. Kill Ghislain. Without hesitation the mercenaries took out their weapons, but at that very moment Jillian appeared in front of him. His voice was stern. "Anyone who touches Jillian will kill him." Everyone became paralyzed with fear. No way to move forward, couldn't muster the courage. Seeing this, the cow understood the seriousness of his condition. Trembling slightly, he again looked into Ghislain's eyes as if silently challenging him to move forward. As soon as Ghislain threw the next punch, a strange smile appeared on the cow's face. It seemed as if he had given up resistance, just bearing the blow. At that very moment he remembered how cowardly and weak the other nobles were. As soon as he frightened them, they would fall at his feet and he would empty their pockets. By showing this strength he created his infamous identity of Rabbit Dog, but now he couldn't understand how it all went so wrong with Ghislain. The ground had become slippery with blood and the cow was lying exhausted. Seeing this his people got really scared. Ghislain wondered if that was enough. Then suddenly he turned towards the mercenaries standing nearby and ordered them to bring bandages and compresses. He said that if Cow did not get immediate help he would die. On hearing this, the mercenaries seemed to come to their senses and immediately agreed to obey the orders. Silent, Ghislain looked at the injured man, assessed the situation with stern eyes. In the mercenary world, fist power was the real law, and Ghislain knew what was the most effective way to assert authority. When the cow finally regained consciousness, Ghislain handed him a paper and pointed at it and said, "Sign." At first the cow did not react, just kept staring at him. Then he made a sound with his tongue in irritation and signed the document. As soon as he was done, he threw the paper back carelessly, but this attitude of Mr. Ghislain didn't like it at all. He found this absurd. Cow spontaneously turned his head and said in a low voice that now it was Ghislain's job to take care of them. Ghislain agreed and took his hand. The already beaten man got scared after seeing this. but Gizon squeezed his hand tightly and said that now they were family, and according to her, family meant walking together.